What's going on, B1 Youth? We're on our third segment of this applicable love idea, talking about how to love others and do that well. So we got Pastor Kim and Pastor Jesse from Neighborhood. He's their high school pastor. And we thought we'd have a conversation today about just that. What does it look like? Pastor Kim, you can chime in. I'll say a little something. But what does it look like to applicably love in the context of youth culture today and in our society, in high schools, junior highs? What does that look like? And we'll just talk shop and see what we come up with. So what do you guys think?
Ladies first.
Okay, so, I think it goes back to, you guys have probably taken your love language test already. If you haven't, you should. But it goes back to just really understanding how each individual person loves themselves and loves how they receive love and how they receive it better. Because, I'm going to receive love differently than you're going to receive love and how you're going to receive love. Whereas, I might say, well, I need to spend time with people. You guys might say, I don't know, you need somebody to give you something, or you might need somebody to tell you something. And so that's where you have to understand the other person. And so I feel like it's going to look different with every single person you come across, and you're going to love on people differently, especially even going into different cultures. And if you're in another country, loving people is going to look extremely different. And so I think in the beginning, it starts with just knowing yourself, but also knowing the other person that you're loving on the other side of the relationship. And so really it's going to take time. It's going to take intentionality. It's going to take getting to know the person, being open to just understanding one another's differences too, as well. So.
Yeah, and like you said, it goes beyond to the other person, and really at the bottom, the whole thing with love is that it's about what they need. It's asking their needs before my own.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's so helpful about the love language test, stuff like that, is that it helps you define your needs, so that in defining that, you can then learn to define others and ask the question, okay, what do they need? What is it that they need? Because ultimately love is saying their needs before my own. I mean, I think of Jesus on the cross. There is no greater picture of love than this, when Jesus was on the cross for all of us. That is it. Their needs before my own. And so ultimately, y'all have heard me talk about it before, but what does love require of me? Ultimately, that is the question that we can ask. And we can talk about love in a heady way, but really practically, what does loving others look like? It's easy. It's right there. It looks like paying for someone in line at Starbucks, or it looks for, inviting that friend to come sit with you at your table at lunch. It looks like seeing that girl, and not just walking by her every day at school, but seeing her and seeing that there's actually sadness there, and she needs someone who will just be willing to say hi. That's it. It's right there. And another thing I've talked about before, but love, one of the things I love about it is we all have it. It's down there somewhere, and you just have to search for it. And once you get there and learn to put others before yourself, it is right there, and it is easy. And so ultimately, if I'm communicating to a high school student, you can do this. You can do this. We all can do this. It's not something we can't do. It's right there.
Yeah, for sure. And just kind of to sum all that up, I think I always, go back to where a teacher asked Jesus, what is the greatest commandment? And he says you should love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. He couldn't stop at just loving God, loving Jesus, but he had to extend it to loving your neighbor as yourself. And I always think about that context. Love has to have somewhere to go, right? You can't keep love to yourself. You have to show it. You have to involve other people, right? It can't just be you. If you just hold love in by yourself, that's not real love. Love, it requires some place for it to go. And so I think that's kind of interesting. And so we actually wanted to invite you into this whole situation because we love you and we love your church, and we just want to know how we can be praying for you and loving your youth ministry and what you guys got going on. So maybe share with us one thing that's going on that's you guys are super excited about, and maybe one thing that we can be praying for you about.
Dude, to be honest, when it comes to that question very specifically, I just think of what's happening in youth culture, specifically within the churches and outside of the churches in Visalia right now. So, I could talk about neighborhood, but at the end of the day, we're all doing something unique right now. And there are way too many high school students in Visalia and way too few high school students at church. And it's time to get those people to a place where they're learning, yes, to love Jesus, to go to church, to be at youth, to be a part of that, but then really really at the end of the day, it's about being out.
Yeah.
So really, yeah, let's get them to youth, but let's be youth in the culture. Let's influence this culture. And so, when you ask me like what's one thing I'm excited about, it doesn't even have to do with neighborhood. It has to do with like I'm excited to see junior high and high school students really like take the love of Jesus into our city and be a light. So
yeah.
That's cool.
Cool.
Well, how can we be praying for you in your youth ministry?
Yeah, loving others in our culture will always be like a salmon swimming upstream. It'll always be something that is not easy. It will cost us. And so I would say that, love always perseveres. That's not easy. And there's always a need for prayer and support from our people, right? For you guys to say, let's hold your arms up and to be able to really love others and keep that energy going. So I'd say pray for perseverance just because it's not easy, but it's worth it. It's always worth it.
Okay, I like it.
Well, cool. Well, that's all we got. So your gathering leaders actually have some more questions for you guys. I want you guys to continue this conversation in your groups right now. And be praying just for youth ministry as a whole across this valley, that we would have the perseverance to go out and to love people in our schools and in our homes and in our families. So we love the youth.
Love you guys.
We love the youth.
Amen.